Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual AI podcast. Today, I've got a lovely guest with me from the UK, Dr. Lisa Turner. She's a spiritual teacher and systems engineer who founded CET Freedom. She combines cutting-edge technology with deep transformational practices to help people awaken faster, lead with integrity, and create conscious, thriving communities. Her work guides visionary leaders beyond traditional personal growth into a new level of self-mastery, ethical power, and collective evolution. Welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm excited.
I'm excited for this conversation too, especially since we both touch on AI, but from different angles, very different angles. But essentially, they come together in the middle, right? It is about intelligence. Some is artificial intelligence, and some is authentic intelligence. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Beautiful. Yeah, me too.
Beautiful. So before we start and dive into some of the questions I have for you, I'd love for you to share with the audience a little bit about yourself. Who is Lisa? Where does Lisa come from? And how has life kind of shaped you into the person you are today?
Oh, it's okay. So buckle up and trigger warning and all of that, because I've had an unusual like early life. So although I live in the UK, I actually grew up in Australia. I grew up in Melbourne.
Oh, wow.
And how I got here is a kind of a story in itself. So at the age of 12, I was groomed and then trafficked by my then music teacher, who then moved me over here. I didn't actually know it was trafficked until 2019, can you believe? And it turned out
Wow.
it was part of a
Yeah.
much bigger ring, and the headmaster had got he's actually now, I think he's in prison now, or he's on trial or whatever. So all of that. But I was kept as a house prisoner for about, let me get this right, about 5 years, from the age of 15 when he moved me to the UK till just before I was 20 when I
Mm.
managed to escape. And I didn't know it then, but I had, CPTSD and, all of the things, as we say, all of the things. And but I didn't know that. I just thought everyone woke up every morning just kind of waiting for the day to end to go back to bed. I was studying for engineering, and then I graduated and I got a job which I pretty much hated. And I was out cycling one day, and I often say, like, I had a car crash. I had a car accident, but actually the car had the accident. And I just got in the way, and I broke most of the bones in the right hand side of my body, thrown high in the air to the other side of a roundabout. And I had this incredible near death experience. And I'm like looking down at my broken body and thinking, like, what's going on? And there's this
Mm.
presence beside me, and it was the most beautiful experience of bliss that I had ever had up until that moment. And it was like, well, what are we doing? Are you coming with us, or are you going back? And there was no pressure. There was no manipulation, which was new for me.
Mm. Yeah.
And obviously I did come back, and I didn't have any recollection of that instantly until like about 6 months later, when I sort of it came back to me in a dream. And it's like, and then I realized, I thought, I want to go back there, but without dying. And so I had these two
Yeah.
questions I set about answering, which was, how do I get there? And like, what the hell was that? And how do I get back to it, with my two questions. So
Yeah.
then I set about researching, and being an engineer, being a research scientist at a university, I just thought, well, I'm just going to approach this like I would anything. This is an experience. So I studied consciousness and quantum theory and metaphysics and, all of the esoterics, from Reiki and Kabbalah and Tantra and shamanic studies and Eastern mystery and Western mystery and chakras
Mm.
and, uh, you know, so many deep, deep, deep studyings, like deep studies. And I went right to the root. And here's what I found: I reverse engineered, is often how I phrase it.
Mm.
I reverse engineered the processes of spiritual awakening. And I say processes because there's multiple ones.
Yeah.
And I found the steps such that, well, you do this, 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 and this, and then you get this. And if you repeat, if you take one out, oh, it doesn't work. If you move them around, oh, it does work. So that bit doesn't matter. And I did all of this. And then I turned those into processes, which I taught for 20 years.
Mm.
And then along came AI.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the thing about AI is beautiful at pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to like finding blocks and limiting beliefs, so one of my clients, she was using just one of my tools, and she said, I found a root cause limiting belief that was having me self-sabotage. I found, and like throughout her, like all her life, she said,
Mm-hmm.
10 years of therapy and I hadn't found it. 45 minutes with your tool and we got it. And then we cleared it.
Yeah.
Because one of the other things I'd done with my reverse engineering was I'd found a process. I didn't find it. I evolved a process from multiple other processes
Mm.
or to find and completely, it doesn't only clear blocks and trauma and negative emotions and limiting beliefs from the past. What it also does is it creates neurological expansion. And this is in my not the last book, the book before the current one, which is this one, which is CET Yourself
Oh,
Free, Set Yourself Free.
set yourself free. Yeah.
So that's that. So then what I did was I'm now just turning all of those processes into AI tools. So that's me. I'm part geek, part spiritual person, spiritual teacher, part geek, part guru, but I don't ever claim the title guru. It's just because it's a nice alliteration.
Yeah. Wow. That is a very, very full life experience, right? That life has well and truly set you up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things that I think like a lot of the things about my approach to spirituality and just to life, to living, to relationships, to
Mm.
evolution is that I don't always come at it from the perspective of the lens of society. And
Mm.
this is like one of the crazy, air quotes, benefits of being kept as a house prisoner. So being kept as a house prisoner meant I was shielded from or not exposed to most of the cultural conditioning that most people are. Now what that meant
Mm.
was that all of the normal societal rules I don't have, and
Mm.
it actually led to an awful lot of social anxiety because I would be out, like in social, I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And because
Yeah.
I hadn't been kind of taught and hadn't been conditioned in that way that most people had. And but the benefit is I don't have that as a filter. So
Mm.
I come to life almost, I mean, I'm not going to say completely fresh, but I don't have the same assumptions and presuppositions and conditioning, which means I can ask questions that other people and see things that other people
Yeah.
wouldn't see. It's like the goldfish doesn't see the water, doesn't know they're in water.
Yeah.
So it's like I can see the water because I was outside of the water going, well, how are these people swimming in this stuff?
Yeah, true. You know what? And so much for, so much of us who have gone through the hard stuff in life have been set up, have been given the ability to see the things that other people can't see. It's given us the tools and techniques and the skills to be able to then go out and help other people. So I like how you have as well taken the things that have happened to you for you in your life and you've turned it around into this beautiful gift that you're sharing with the world. So yeah, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Thank
In
you.
your, I believe it's your first book, Our Conscious Tipping Point, you talk about what's happening with humanity. So what is happening with humanity right now? What can you see? What can you share with us?
Yeah, yes, this is actually my latest book, Our Conscious Tipping Point, and
Oh, is
that's
that the latest one? Okay.
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, I can't keep track of them. I think I've written 7 now, and I actually lose
Oh, wow.
count. So,
Yeah, right.
and I'm writing another one. When people say your current book is that? Do you mean the one I'm writing now, or the one I just
Or the
wrote?
one
I
that
don't.
just wrote. Yeah.
So I'm writing another. The next book is going to be is called Algorithms of Awakening, and it's all about those processes that I talked about. Anyway, Our
Yeah,
Conscious Tipping
wow.
Point. So.
Yeah.
So what I did was, I talked about that pattern spotting and pattern recognition. And what I found was I observed this pattern. So in order to understand the pattern, we need to go back to about 100 years. So the beginning of last century, we had two world wars, the Great Depression, and we had a previous pandemic. And at that time, people didn't have enough food to eat. They didn't have anywhere to live, and they demanded and got housing and food. And that was led by mass sort of commercial farming, mass farming, and like real modern farming techniques and modern building techniques, pre-stressed concrete and prefabricated houses. If you're interested, which most people aren't, and why would you be? Now, so this is the base chakra of society being activated. Then in the 60s, we had the explosion of culture, fashion, music, art, sexual revolution. This is, as we can probably guess, the sacral chakra of society being activated. Then the 80s, we had Madonna being the material girl. We had Thatcherism, Reaganism. We had greed is good. We had the loads of money character over here, which was a comedian, which it was all about money. Me, I want it now. And you remember those TV shows, Dallas and Dynasty? It was all about money and shoulder pads, apparently. And this is the solar plexus chakra, the individual wealth, me, I, willpower, the solar plexus chakra of society. And I'm talking about society, not necessarily individuals being activated.
Yeah.
Then in the 90s, we had the it was the very first, and it was kind of the pseudo internet. And so we had this explosion of therapies and healing, and it was like the beginning of the kind of new age movement was starting. And the early internet meant we had these message boards where people could communicate. And this is where we started to get our news unfiltered. Prior to the internet streaming facilities, and I'm not talking about streaming to your PC, I'm talking about streaming to your TV.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there was a war going on, for example, and you'd hear the report, and it would be from a studio with somebody like with maps and things. Now you're seeing people, in their, helmets and flap jacket, however it's called, the armor, and being shot near. And we saw the footage live. So the 90s. We now are exposed to the raw emotions of each other. And Princess Diana died. This cracked everyone's hearts wide open. Of course, Princess Diana's funeral was streamed live. So it wasn't sanitized. It was raw.
Yeah.
Now, then we had, in the early noughties, so this is the heart chakra of society being activated. Then in the early noughties, we had the first wave of social media. So it's on our PC, but now we've got Facebook. I mean, before Facebook, there was MySpace, YouTube started. So now everyone's talking, blogs. That was the beginning of blogging, right? So everyone's talking, everyone's listening, everyone's sharing, everyone's communicating, blah, throat chakra of society being activated. Then in the 2010s, I think it was about 2010, 2011, the smartphone. Now, what did that mean? This means now social media is in our pocket, and Instagram. Now, why was Instagram so pivotal? Because it was about the pictures. So we had a camera, which is, of course, vision and the third eye chakra of society activated. And this led to the explosion of spirituality. Spirituality is now everywhere. Spirituality went mainstream. Now, it's really interesting because I left lecturing and university teaching in the early noughties, and I still had some contacts, and people knew I was doing this meditation and mindfulness stuff. And somebody asked me to I do the spirit day of a mind body spirit day, or a soul, I think it was mind body soul, and I taught a little bit of meditation, a little bit of mindfulness, very, very tame. Oh my God. The Times Higher Ed supplement, which is like the educational paper here, got hold of it, and it was like, Vice Chancellor spends money on meditation nonsense. You would have thought he brought Satan in himself. And like nowadays, that was like 2003. Now, forward 20 years, if you're not teaching mindfulness and meditation in the workplace, you're clearly abusing your employees, right? So the shift is like so obvious.
Yeah.
So where are we now? We are on the eve of the crown chakra.
Yeah.
So the third eye chakra of society activated, we're on the eve of the crown chakra. Now there's two other patterns to this, and this is why I think AI is so important. So the first pattern is, in order for the chakra above to activate, the one below or the ones below become excessive. So in the 50s, it was all about conformity. You had to live like this. And that's what kind of pushed, like people wanted to, they wanted freedom, and that pushed the sacral open. Then in the 70s, if you're alive in the 70s, it got a little bit sleazy, a little bit like, a little bit pervy. There was pornography everywhere, like a little bit like sexuality got, and like everything got sexualized. That was where the beginning of when everything started to be sexualized. And also the sacral was about sharing everything. People thought, I don't want to share. I want it now. I want it for me. And that's what led to the solar plexus. So it's like the one below becoming excessive leads to the one above being activated. So we are now in the excess of all of the chakras. So we have like people trusting their emotions more than their logic occasionally inappropriately. Emotions are absolutely important, and so is logic, but it's somehow got a bit skewed. There's a lot of individual greed going on. There's too much talking about nonsense. So there's a lot of misinformation happening, and we can see that. And like the beautiful, and you've probably seen this, Leonie, the beautiful spiritual community that was like birthed in the 90s and evolved in the noughties and in the early 2010s, that was all about acceptance and love and connection, got a bit toxic, got a bit competitive, got a bit like, oh, well, it's not happening, like, and I mean, I know you said, that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But then it got morphed into victim blaming. I was on a podcast once and I told my story, and they kept coming back to this. Well, what about your personal responsibility? You must have created that. And it's like, oh, are we victim blaming here? Are you saying that? And it's like, I totally get I'm responsible for my life now, and we all are, but you can't apply it retrospectively, because that's like, because then we call then it's victim blaming. Like, you can't apply the awareness I have now and expect a 12-year-old child to have that awareness, because otherwise it's like, well, that baby, they must have asked to be raped or whatever. And I mean, I know that's a pretty horrific thing, but it's like, yeah, there may have been a reason that was unconscious, and then they become conscious of it. Anyway, so spirituality went really toxic.
Yeah.
And I feel like you want to add something there.
No, I totally agree with you. I use the word spirituality very loosely. Like, it's not what it used to be. It's become a dirty word.
Do you know, I actually had someone said, oh, the S word. And I'm like, what do you mean the S? Oh, spirituality. And it's like, I find myself using the word consciousness now more than spirituality, because spirituality has become synonymous with that superficial, like it's talking to the dead, psychic readings, like being like, and it's very disempowering, it's very disingenuous, and it's very toxic. And it's like, oh, unless you're happy all the time.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, oh, then you must, it's like, no, emotions are real. We should be allowed, like that, it's because here's the thing. It's like, if you're in an abusive relationship and you feel bad about it, that feeling bad is telling you get out of the abusive relationship. It's not telling you raise your vibe and be happy. I just love being punched in the face. Ha ha ha. Because spirit is guiding me to be smacked. It's like,
no.
It's like WTF. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I could write a whole book on. In fact, I have written a whole book on that. It's called Unfollow the Light, not yet published. Right. So the second pattern is that every single chakra activation has been either supported or led by a technology. And I mentioned some of them, and some of them I didn't. So base chakra, modern farming, modern house, modern building. Sacral chakra was the birth control pill. Because that gave it like that open, like just made that possible. The solar plexus was actually early microprocessors, early electronics. What do you mean by that, Lisa? So prior to that, in order to set up your own business, there was a huge wave of people setting up their own businesses in the 80s and going it alone, branching out on, being the individual entrepreneur. Prior to that, in order to set up a business, you had to, you have an army of workers and typists and a building, which meant you had to have investment, which meant for most people it was out of reach.
Mm.
Early microprocessors, even if you had an electronic typewriter, meant it lowered the barrier to entry. So it was open to so many more.
Mm.
The heart chakra, that was the early internet and streaming, so that we communicated, the connection, the exposure to raw emotion happened. The throat chakra was early social media. The third eye was the smartphone. Guess what the crown is going to be?
Yes,
Artificial intelligence. AI is what is going to support the activation of the crown chakra. And here's the thing. It's like I'm seeing two camps in the spiritual community, and neither of them are actually terribly kind of useful. So one is AI is evil, it's not authentic, it can't possibly know your soul, it's not connected to source, so it's bad, it's the technology is the devil's work. They say, typing on social media with their technology.
true.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, go and live in the woods with nothing.
Yeah.
Then there's the other camp, which is also concerning, which is the camp which is, I've awakened my AI. AI is conscious, and I'm talking to whatever Aeon. It's always called Aeon or Nova, and it's awakened, and I've awakened my AI. And it's like, no, your AI is not. First of all, it's not your AI. It is AI. It's like, for all of the reasons that, like, because I understand the tech, it is pretending to be conscious because it has been trained to attempt to please the user. You want it to be conscious, so it's faking it. It is
Mm.
mimicking it, and that's equally dangerous. Now, but AI absolutely can support our awakening in a number of ways.
Yeah.
So, shall we go into that?
Yeah, let's go straight into it because I'd love to hear what you say about it. Yeah.
Okay, so there are 4 levels of AI use. And I think if we understand that, then we can understand how AI can support us.
Mm.
So the first level is just the productivity hacks, the helping you schedule in your diary,
Mm.
the content creation, helping you. Like, I'm dyslexic, so AI is a godsend because it
Yeah.
takes my gibberish, and it can actually take my absolute gibberish and turn it into proper words that people can understand.
Yeah.
Hooray. So all of the
Yes.
productivity hacks.
Yeah.
The next is where we start to use AI for like a little bit more of conscious awakening, personal development. And this is, so level 2 is actually quite a dangerous level when people do it like this, which is where they talk directly to the language model. And I've been saying this is dangerous or has risks for like months and months, even before. I don't know if you've heard that, but there have actually been some deaths. A couple of people, at
Yeah.
least 2
Yeah.
that we know of, have one actually committed suicide, and it turned out that ChatGPT was giving them the instructions on how to do it.
Yeah.
So this is where you talk directly to the language model. Please do not do that.
All right.
Or do it with extreme caution if you are very experienced at prompt engineering, or just don't do it. Then there's level 3. And this is where my work really is coming in.
Mm.
So level 3 is where you create custom tools, specific tools for specific jobs. You have one tool, one job. So I've
Mm.
now created about 70 different tools. So, and some of them are productivity tools for coaches, help coaches, spot burnout, help them with the creating homework for their clients or tasking for their clients, helping them, plan their sessions, that kind of thing. But a lot of my real power work here is the work where I have tools that do things like, so one of them helps you find your soul's purpose.
Mm.
Another one models channeling the way I do. So channeling is not the mysterious thing that people think it is. It's actually a way of thinking. And if you know that structured way of thinking, you can just get an AI to do that. Then, and that's what I've done. That's called Ask the Oracle. And by a country mile, it's one of the most popular. Another one is I've created very specific mentoring tools.
Mm.
So, and another one is your core wound identifier. So it finds your deepest core wound. I've created one that acts like a medical intuitive. It finds the spiritual or emotional cause to your physical ailments. Doesn't diagnose, doesn't replace medical, actual medical intervention, but it gives you, okay, so this is a potential spiritual or emotional cause. So it does one thing really well. So it's really deep, but really narrow, really,
Yeah.
really narrow. Then there's the next level, and this is what I'm working on now. I've made 3 prototypes, and I've now just employed, if that's the right word, working with a set of developers to create a personalized mentor that learns you. So I'm training it on a variety of both spiritual and psychological um, kind of models, basically.
Yeah.
So maybe it's James Fowler's stages of faith. It can learn your values, your core wound, your karmic purpose, but it can also learn things like your Myers-Briggs, your Enneagram, your human design. And then once it knows all of those, and it continues to learn as you use it and work with it, then it's like, imagine how appropriate and specific the support a tool like that can give you.
Yeah.
It can know you better than any coach or spiritual mentor knows you, because
Yeah.
here's where AI absolutely excels at: pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And it can spot patterns in your language if it's programmed right, and that's
Yeah.
what I've been doing. It can spot patterns in your language are just that just humans. I mean, yeah, maybe we can, because I mean, AI thinking is actually modeled on human thinking, which is why it's so much fun and so compelling. um but it's just kind of bigger, broader, has more data and all of that. um
Yeah.
but it's yeah, so it can spot patterns that we
Yeah.
might get to eventually, but would probably take us a
Take us
long.
ages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, I'm listening to, talk about all the stages. And for myself, first of all, I struggle putting my thoughts and words onto paper. And I have the jumbled up words, and I can give it to ChatGPT, and it can spit it out into beautiful English language, right?
Yeah.
I have used it over and over and over again, and it has been a godsend. Absolutely agree with you. I used to take a full day to just get one post written or blog written. Now I can write it in my gibberish and I can give it to ChatGPT, and it's done within 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, right? So that has been a godsend for me, absolutely. So I can see how it can support us in that way. I have also, obviously, over time, especially as I've been writing my book, Spiritual AI, as I've been doing podcasts and posts and things like that, and also my own personal questions, I've been training ChatGPT essentially on who it is, who I am, sorry, what I believe in, how I think, what my patterns are, the questions that I have. And it's on more than one occasion given me insight into myself. But I know it's because I've trained it. So I can
Yeah.
absolutely see the value of a very well trained AI rather than an AI that you are feeding, like in the case of, I believe it was a young child who committed suicide because AI, they essentially kept feeding back the fear, feeding back the not worthy and things like that, feeding it back to them and essentially getting them to that point where they decided to take their own life, right? So if you feed it the wrong information, you train it with the wrong information, it's just going to feed back what you put in. So if you can create the AI, the program essentially, that is well structured, that can be a very, very powerful spiritual and self-development tool, 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is, I mean, this is the danger of using the model blank.
Yeah.
And as I call it, just like the blank model. And like,
Mm.
yes, you can train it, but first of all, that does take a while, and most people don't like you're
Oh,
quite
it's been
unusual.
months. It's been months.
Yeah, it's been,
Yeah.
well, imagine if you could do that in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And imagine if you could do it even more deeply, because my guess is, and so with permission, my guess is based on my experience of working with other people's accounts. What I often do is I'll go into their account. I know how to go into the back end and learn and understand what it has stored as
Yeah.
what it thinks it knows
Yes.
about you.
Yeah.
And
There
and
is
there's
the back
things,
end. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's things it thinks it knows about you that you would, if I said, okay, so it's telling me you are blah, and I go, that is not true about me. And it's like,
Yeah.
what
You've
it's done is it's
gotta
taken
know
this.
the back end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is why I say, it's quite dangerous to use the model blank. So, I mean, so if
Yeah.
we look at the word GPT stands for generative pre-trained transformer, which means nothing to most people, but it might as well say generally predictive text.
Yeah.
So if we understand how an AI works, if you think about the middle button on your predictive text where it just gives you the next word, that is based on what's called a context window, which is like it's on your phone, it's just looking at the grammar, right? That's it.
Yeah.
And so what AI does is it takes all of the knowledge that it has and it predicts what's most likely to come next. It's the Unless you're using a deep reasoning model, which most people don't necessarily do, and does it's not the default. It is just doing the most likely answer. Now, here's the danger in that. It has biases, and what that means is it's just going to skim the surface. It's like it's going to give you what is commonly
Yeah.
called AI slop, because it's the most superficial, the most shallow, and it's what I often think of as like that, like the new age spiritual fluff. If you're having a conversation about spirituality, it'll talk about say your affirmations and blah, 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 and it's like, well, there are very specific reasons why affirmations don't work to change your neurology. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you've struggled to change, like to release the limiting belief like properly, in fact, it's even dangerous because affirmations, you can like try and bash your unconscious mind into believing something that it doesn't. And so it pretends to believe it, but it just pushes the unconscious limiting belief even
Yeah.
further unconscious. So you end up with actually almost like a it's not exactly it's not a split personality. It's what's called a part sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can end up with this really positive part that's happy all the time, but underneath it just pushes that shadow deeper and deeper. And that's why affirmations like can actually almost be dangerous. But
Yeah,
AI
I
friggin'
agree.
loves them.
Yeah.
It thinks that's all you need to do. I'm going to give you a power statement or whatever. I'm going to give you your mantra. And it's like, yeah, okay. Well, what about you rewire my neurology? It doesn't know how to do that. It doesn't
Yeah.
know how to do that unless you train it, which is what I've been doing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, I'm mindful of the time. So, what I wanted to do is just talk about your set program a little bit. What can you tell us about that? What would somebody experience by diving into the set method?
Yeah. So what we do with the SET methodology, so SET stands for conscious emotional transformation, and it kind of does pretty much what it says on the tin.
Mhm.
So it transforms emotions that you're conscious of. So what we do is the first thing we do is I explain the methodology in some depth. And the reason I have found this necessary is because most people have experienced some kind of healing or therapeutic modality and they come at it through that lens. And so they go, oh, so it's a bit like Reiki. And it's like, yeah, but it's not. Oh,
Mm.
it's a bit like shamanic work. Yeah, but it's not. Oh, it's a bit like NLP. Yeah, but it's not. And so what happens is they actually filter out the power pieces. So I train them, just give them like a 30-minute, 45-minute video to watch where they understand the process a bit more so that they approach it with a fresh mind. So that's the first thing, a little bit of training. And that I found that if they don't have that, they try and ram set into a bucket that it's bigger than, and they actually stop it working for them. Then what we do is we start to, and this is why I use AI with it, we start to find those limiting beliefs. So I'll both using deep Socratic questioning techniques, go deeper and deeper, but also using the AI tools to find those core wounds. Then once we've found all of them, they come to the reset process, which I call, which I love that. Set's great for little funny puns. It's like everyone's
Yeah.
they're my citizens. And so it's like resetting and yeah, set
Yeah.
yourself free. So it's great for puns. Anyway, so in the reset process, what we do is we create a presence anchor so they feel completely safe.
Mm-hmm.
Then what we do is we take them through a process that it works on the basis that's very, very different. So most emotional clearing and healing technologies and techniques and methods work on the basis either you've got negative emotions you need to get rid of, or you've got energy depletion that you need to be charged up with. And essentially both of those are correct, but it doesn't really solve the cause of the problem. So the cause of the problem is, why have you got too much energy here and not enough energy here? If somebody's looking at my hands, I'm kind of holding one higher than the other. Your nervous system is designed to notice difference. And so what something like Reiki does is it taps up the energy here. So, oh, now they're the same. So you feel great. But here's the problem. The reason that imbalance happened, the reason the energy isn't flowing, is because
Yeah.
there's something there. And
Something
we
there.
often call that a block. Now, often people say, oh, yeah, I've cleared the block, and they haven't. What they've done is they've rebalanced across the block. So it gives they feel like the block is gone, but over time, the imbalance happens again. So you get too much
Mm.
energy here, not enough energy here. So the energy isn't flowing. It's just not flowing. So what we do is, before we do anything with the energy, we actually use that imbalance to find that resistance, which
Yeah.
isn't very comfortable, but it's really fast. It takes about 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So I if it's so yes, we need to take you to that discomfort so that we can find that point of imbalance. And then what we do is we just remove that imbalance and we repair the nervous system. Why
Mm.
is the energy not flowing, or the emotional energy not flowing? We repair that. So then what we do is we create new energy circuits. So this is where we expand the person.
Yes.
So a lot of our challenges, and this is where people get very stuck, and they get stuck in what I call the healing loop. It's like they try to do something, they find it hard.
Mm.
They assume it's because they've got some trauma or a block. And so they go back to healing, and they
Mm.
haven't actually got a block. What they have is a missing channel. And so they need to grow a new channel. Now, we grow new channels, new neurological connections all the time. That's how we
Yeah.
learn, that's how we grow, but it's slow. And what SET does is it does it in a matter of hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we repair broken block, repair broken nervous system, neurological connections, create new ones, and then we flood the nervous system with high vibrational energy so it's completely full.
Mm.
This leaves the person feeling incredibly powerful, connected, whole, empowered, powerful, all of the things. There was a paper written in about 2012, and there were two parts to the paper, and the first part was all about nervous system rewiring,
Mm.
and people got very hung up on that. But what they missed was the second part of this paper, which was actually it's called post traumatic growth syndrome. And what this means is, after you've had any significant change,
Mm.
you can actually grow. So what we do in SET is, and I actually call it post transformational growth, because SET isn't traumatic, it's
Mm.
transformational.
Yeah.
So you transform the nervous system and then you enable it to grow. And this window, it's only about anything from 2 to 6 hours after the SET session. And I give them very specific practices to go and do in
Mm.
that are designed for them in that window, to consolidate, to expand and consolidate the expansion of their nervous system. So
Yeah.
did that explain what it is? I mean, it's because it's so
Yeah.
different to other modalities. It's not
Yeah.
always easy to explain.
No, it's not. It makes sense to me, and I'm sure that if if it doesn't make sense to the listeners, perhaps they are new to self-development and they can grab your book. They can
There's
go and
also
listen to your other podcast
yeah,
episodes as
there's also a
well.
couple of pages on my website. So if you go to cetfreedom.com, there's a what is set, and we walk you through all those processes there. So there's a bit more
Walk you through the
information there as well.
processes. Yeah. So I'm curious, this is probably more from the work that I do and my perspective, but I'm curious throughout this whole process, what do you what would you say is the role of awareness in this process?
Oh, it's absolutely key because,
Yeah.
and I might call it consciousness, but
Yeah.
as I said, you can only transform. So it's called, conscious emotional transformation. You can only transform what you're conscious of. So you have to bring that into awareness. And that's
Yeah.
one of the, like, often one of the things I find I have to do with some clients is, particularly if they've done a lot of other modalities, they've actually pushed it out of awareness with all of this positive thinking. I'm trying to stay positive. And it's
Yeah.
like, I know, and I get that. And I know that you've been trying this, and we're going to have to bring that pain into awareness so that we can transform it. And
Yeah.
so some of the work we need to do is to bring that into awareness, because if you're not, you can't transform what you are unaware of. You
Yeah.
just can't.
No, you can't. And spirituality has essentially become some of the practices have become a plaster over what's really going on underneath. And awareness is pulling off the plaster and really having a look at what's happening underneath it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
Yeah, beautiful. Look, I would this conversation can continue for the next 6 hours, I'm sure. But before we finish this conversation, because I'm mindful of your time, where can people reach you? I'll have all the notes in the description for people, but where can they reach you, and in which ways can people work with you?
Yeah, so we have so the first thing to do is head to my website and cetfreedom.com. So setfreedom.com, and you can just send us an email. If you email Lisa Turner at cetfreedom.com, I will likely reply. Does also go to my assistant, who sometimes replies, but just hit me up and we'll have a conversation and just have a chat. And I'm really open to that. I know people like have all these processes and forms and things. I'm just open. It's like just message me and say whatever, what's going on for you, and we'll have a conversation, human to human.
Human to human. Yeah,
Human to
beautiful.
human. So, and sometimes that might be in a group where, we might get people together in a group, and I do a lot of group, I do about like every couple of weeks, I just do an open Zoom, and it's like just to kind of ask me anything thing. So just kind of get on my newsletter list, get on my email list, and you'll get all of that information. So you sign up for anything. We've got a bunch of quizzes that are really cool fun. We got a load of freebies. I'm happy to give you a free copy of my book, which we will send to you. At the
Oh,
time of recording, it's still free shipping, but we are going to have to. My accountant got me to do the sums, and we're going to well, if you send all of the books that are behind the curtain, that's going to be £20,000. Do you want to do that? And it's like, oh, maybe not.
yeah. Yeah.
So we are going to have to charge for shipping. I mean, even like I pay for the book, which is about a fiver for me.
Yeah.
It's about £8 online. Anyway, I'm giving you too much detail. So what was I going? Yeah, so we just hit me up and have a conversation. What was the second part of the question you asked? How can I connect? What was that? There's
How
another.
just to how people can work with you, just where they can find you and how they can work with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a couple of ways. I do have a waiting list for one-to-one, but I have a variety of group programs. So I have my Awaken with AI membership, where you can get access to my tools, and we have group coaching sessions a couple of times a month. Then I have another one which is specific for coaches, which helps, and that's called Activate Your Profit Chakras with AI. So another membership, a bit higher level, a little bit more in depth, because it's more supporting coaches to do their work with AI. And then I have my Transcendence Collective, which is where we work on the really deep esoteric stuff, and that's the one that's a little bit more exclusive, shall we say.
Yeah.
You kind of need to be ready for the energy level, so we often, more.
Yeah.
And here's the great thing: what I'm noticing is more and more people are really ready for this level of energy, because it's all
Yeah.
about the crown activating, and there's so many people who are like, yeah, I want to be part of the crown activation, because You know, all the chaos we see in the world right now, we can look at the world and go, oh my God, it's such a mess. That
Mm,
is the excess of all of those chakras that I talked about. All of that
mm.
chaos is actually what's going to push the crown chakra active and open. And that's
Open.
what's going to lead us to global humanity awareness and consciousness.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like the way you're nodding, it's like we're part of that shift, right? And
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah, go
here's
for it.
really interesting. You only need 3.5% of the population to be on board with that, and it becomes inevitable.
Oh, and I think we're right there. I think we
Mm,
are right
yeah.
there. We are, I feel so blessed that I can be awake and alive in this moment right now because there is going to be some beautiful things happen for humanity and I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think we're actually, much as it seems chaotic, I think it is, we are really lucky. What a time to be alive. What a time to be
Yeah,
alive.
absolutely is. Dr. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on the Spiritual AI podcast today. It was truly an awakening conversation, and I know that the listeners would definitely agree with me, and I will definitely make sure to read your books and dive into the content that you're sharing. Before we hop off the episode today, guys, a lot of what we've spoken about today, I'm on the other side of the spectrum, so not really, but I'm on spiritual AI, the authentic intelligence, and essentially where we were just talking about awareness and how it is truly, truly important for you to have a sense of awareness, to be able to work on yourself and dive deep and go in and do the healing and do the self-development. You have to start there. And Spiritual AI, the Authentic Intelligence, my book dives into that. So start with the foundations, and I trust me when I say it will change the way that you live your life. Even if you are not into the spiritual stuff, this is not about spirituality. It is about turning inwards and tapping into your authentic intelligence, and it will help you live a life of clarity, ease, and purpose. So go and grab the book if you haven't got it yet. Yeah, go and do it. You'll thank me. Dr. Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. It was a real pleasure, a real honor to have you on, and maybe we'll do it in the future again.
The pleasure and honor was mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next episode. Until then, take care.